Okay, hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Authentic You podcast today. I am very excited to have the amazing Laura Baird back with me today. So Laura and I had a podcast, that's not the right phrase, did a podcast a few months ago. It was one of my most popular podcasts, and we had so much amazing feedback that we decided, we loved our conversation so much that we decided to come back and do a second one. So for those that didn't watch or listen to the last podcast, I'll just share a little bit about Laura, and then I'll hand over to you, Laura, to share anything you want to add to that. So Laura is the founder of Reigniting Women, a company that works with women to heal their past and ignite their future. Using regression techniques alongside her unique psychic abilities, Laura has helped thousands of women all around the world to follow their destiny and create the life they deserve. So Laura, you are absolutely amazing. You've also helped me as well with this journey. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I like using the word deserve in this. Like whenever I talk about what I do, the word deserve is so important. And I use that word specifically because I think as women, I didn't, can tell me if you did or not. I didn't know that I deserved the best life, the best people, the best partner, the best. So I like to use that word to remind women that, we live in a world where we think we have to earn the right to be loved, earn the right to be seen, earn the right to be heard. But actually, if we just really slow down, stop, take a breath, and feel the self, all the needs get met within the self, and then it's just going to get mirrored back to us every single time. So it's just learning, like, hang on a minute, maybe I don't have to do so much right now. Maybe I can just be, and therefore I am enough in that beingness. So that's actually something that I've been really, since I moved to Australia, probably actually like focusing on, actually, there's this voice running in my head that says, I got to go do this, I got to go do that. The more I do, the more better I am. I can't sit still, I can't relax. And when I moved here, I was like, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to let all of that go. And maybe I can just do nothing and I'm still enough and I still deserve the best. So that's why I like to use that word. It's very specific.
I love that. And I love that I was going to mention that. So thank you so much for joining me from all the way across the other side of the world today. I love that you're back. So thank you for joining me from across the other side of the world in one of my favorite countries. Yeah. And I love that you had that. Yeah. Like almost, it feels like almost like a rebirth. The word is coming through like, right, new country. This is what I'm moving into now. I think that's so important. And yeah, I can certainly say I didn't think I deserved that stuff either. And when it was when I went to Glastonbury, actually, first time I ever went to Glastonbury, and I learned about the goddess, and I watched that Miss of Avalon film, and I was like, oh, so it was never, it was never like self-sacrifice in those days. It was all about the goddess and nourishment and the land and ourselves, and that started to like open those doors and awarenesses for me. So yeah, I think I love that word deserve, and everyone deserves the life that they desire, like absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess our society of women, we've just been taught for so many years, like, I suppose now there's more of the masculine woman that's coming out that we're kind of, I'm trying to pull these women back to like the goddess and the feminine self. But there's just this idea that it's for us, it's not necessarily like the more we do, the more we're worth. As for women, I feel like it's more that we think we have to constantly be of service. We have to constantly heal and fix and be soft and gentle for that person and be on all the time. And it's like, no one can ever be that much for everyone. And I know that was something that I learned from a young age. Like I always thought that I had to provide that nurturing space and be there for everyone around me in order for me to then get my time. And healing the inner child with that, like when I went back to look at the inner child, I just saw this tiny version of me, Gemma, and she was literally like, she was waiting, like, is it my turn yet? Is it my turn yet? Like, I've taken care of you, I've taken care of you, I've taken care of you. Is it my turn? And just as time goes on, that continual disappointment that no one's coming. And so when we kind of realize that, I think that's when we get to really click into the authentic self. Like, okay, so So how do I nurture myself the best way for me? And that's going to look different at different times during the month. Like, okay, I know when, like right now, I'm just, in my bleed. So I'm like, well, this is like 2-3 days off. My friends know I'm off the grid. My partner knows I just spend a couple of days alone. Like everyone knows that I'm just like solo right now, and I know I need to give that to myself. But when I'm in my ovulation, I know I need to make myself get up and go do something, because that's actually what's going to help me, not to sit around and do nothing. It's like, no, Laura, get up, go to the gym, go to yoga, go for a walk. So we need different things at different times during our, different phases as women. But I think when we tune into that and we know what we need to give ourselves, we also know where we struggle as well. Because so many women struggle when it gets to that, autumn winter phase where they're done with their ovulation, they're going into like their bleed, and for a woman to say, oh, it's just my resting time, I just sit still and I just be and I rest. It's very difficult for women to do that these days. There's a guilt, like this little voice that runs behind us that says, oh, what are you doing resting? You can't do that. Like, you have things to do. You can't just not do anything. So I think changing that in women, allowing ourselves to nurture ourselves at different times in the month, I think that's really powerful.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really topical, Laura, to talk about that today, because we're actually changing seasons. Although you're coming into summer in Australia, we're coming into, so we were saying before we started this that like we're a bit like yin yang today. So like Laura's coming into summer, I'm coming into, and those of us in the northern hemisphere coming into winter. So that change of seasons is always a reminder, not only to work with the planet and work with the seasons, but work with our own internal seasons. And that's been really I'm in priestess phase at the moment. So I said to Laura, I'm quite fiery today, so it's really, really important to tune in and work with that. And do you know, like, what gave me permission, which is why I think we have to be leaders in this space, because what gave me permission is I was working with a somatic coach a couple of years ago, and she said to me, I've just seen on my calendar that I'm likely to come on my bleed around the time that we've got your session. And she said, if I come on and your session is the second or third day, I will have to move it. I'm letting you know in advance. I will let you know the day before if that happens. And I was like, wow, so we can actually do this. Like, even I hadn't even had that thought. It would normally just be like, oh no, like my period's come and now I have to do this. But when she said that, I thought, wow, that gives me permission to do the same and to work around my cycle. And sometimes we just need, don't we, that to see someone else do that, to be that leader, to give us that permission to do that ourselves. So this is, anyone listening to that, take that permission that, as Laura said, and as I've said, to do that and to work around your cycle. So what do you see? You work with a lot of women. You've worked with thousands of women around the world, Laura. So what do you see most commonly that holds women back from working with their cycles?
Well, I think there's lots of different things. I think first of all, we didn't get a head start. I don't know a single woman that was raised to, okay, so listen, you just got your first period. This is what this means. And this is what you're going to start feeling. And this is what you might notice about yourself. So I don't know any woman that's ever had that. I don't know any woman that's ever had her first period celebrated. Do you?
No, I had some sort of I had some kind of nurturing, I would say. So I had some sort of like, it's okay, and like we'll take you some things, but nothing about, the different stages or anything like that, and certainly nothing around working around it. It was just like more like, oh, it's okay, this is what it is. But that was it. I still had to go to school, which was horrendous. Like, I can remember, I'm sure you can resonate, lots of listeners will resonate, having to go to school on your period, and all those things that comes with that.
I used to go home a lot when I had my period. I couldn't stand the pain, and I used to bring my mum and she picked me up. I really struggled with that, and that's what you kind of have to do, right? So no one, like, we might have had the nurturing or like the, oh, it's okay, like, here's this, let me explain what a sanitary pad is, let me explain what a tampon is, that kind of talk. but to have our period celebrated, that first period celebrated, that's not really heard of. So, you know, as part of the womb course that I sell, that's one of the things I get my clients to do is, right, well, you're going to have a ceremony for yourself to start the initiation again a little bit differently. So I think that that's one thing, is that we're never taught from the beginning. You know, that's just how society has been. So we weren't given that springboard. I think that if young women go on contraception at a young age, they don't know any different, because contraception is going to shut down the emotions. I was on it for 7 years, right? And so I didn't know about feelings. I didn't know, you know, that I knew that I got angry when I was, you know, PMS and everything. I would get angry. I punched a wall at one point, Gemma. I actually punched a wall. I had so much anger in me. I didn't understand it. And so, you know, we're not taught it. Then we go on the contraceptive pill and then we can't feel anything. And then when we come off it, it's so much chaos that we don't know what we're doing. And a lot of women only come off of the pill or take the IUD out if they want to get pregnant. So then they've got to deal with the hormones of being pregnant and then having a baby. So there's not a lot of time for women to really stop and go, well, hang on a minute, how do I feel right now in this moment? And I think when you understand your spring, summer, autumn, winter within your month, you get to have permission to actually really submit into each phase. So it's like, oh, I'm ovulating, so I know, like, I've got a bit of testosterone. Like, we can do in a week what it takes a man to do in a month, in those 7 days. So we can just go boom. And you can use that because you know what it's about. But at the same time, when you are bleeding, you know, you give yourself permission to stop, permission to rest, permission to just be. So I think there's all these different components that actually stop us from really understanding who we are as women. And then when you do bring it up to someone that has never felt these emotions, they don't even, like, some women don't even recognize it. They don't understand what I'm referring to. You know, I'll say to women like, well, there's this energy and it feels like this. Some don't even understand what I'm talking about because they're not in tune with themselves. So it's like breaking down all these different walls.
You've just hit the nail on the head for something I was running a session last night in a friend's community, and we were talking about body truth and you know, what's your yeses, what's your nos when you feel, and a lot of women can't tune into that. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's probably why, because they can't feel their own cycles, they can't feel their own body, they can't feel their own energy. So how would they know what is a yes or a no for them? And the only way to do that is to, like, reflect back on what worked out in the past. The only way is to look back rather than look forward, because these women can't connect to their own energy to know what's, and to even know what's not their energy as well. So I think you've hit the nail on the head with why a lot of that is happening.
Yeah, I think if you can't feel the emotions, but you look back at the consequences of your past choices and your past actions, you'll be able to see, okay, well, that was off. I probably shouldn't have done that. But it gets tricky, because the only way to really start getting into tune with how you feel is going to be by coming off of these things, stopping, taking the IUD out, getting the implant out, you know, stopping the pill. But women are afraid to do that. And to me, there's a big price to pay, you know, because you're shutting down, like, a woman's gift, her power that she holds is her intuition. She is so sensitive to frequency. She knows things. You could say to your partner, be careful with that. That's not going to work out. Be careful with that person. There's something off. We know this really, really far. Like, we know this. And when you are on some kind of contraceptive pill or have an IUD, it shuts that down. So the gift of women gets suppressed. And that is then going to affect the men as well, because then the men, they don't get the powerful woman. They get the masculine woman, or they get the suppressed woman. They get the angry woman. They get the woman who acts like she wants all the same things that men do. She wants your money. She wants your car. She wants your lifestyle. Like, that's such a masculine thing to want. Women, we just want to be seen. We just want to be understood and loved and seen. Like, I don't want anything else. That's the only thing that I want in my relationship. I just want to be protected and seen. And women, when they're in their feminine, I think that's all they really ask for, because that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
But women that are in their masculine, they're the ones that want the money, and they want the car, they want the lifestyle, and they want this, and they want this, and they want this. And it's never enough, because it's an empty pit that they're filling. They can't access themselves. So I need you to give me something to try and fill this void. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think we're seeing at the moment in the world, because a lot of men are complaining, well, the women are too masculine. Okay, but you're also, the men are too feminine, so you can't expect a woman to sit into a feminine if you're acting like a fool. It doesn't match up. Only a strong man can get a woman to be in her feminine.
Yeah,
there's no other way around that.
That's an interesting topic. So I feel, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I feel that the women are going first. So it's very clear, you know, we're in a new paradigm, we're shifting more into the feminine, and what I am seeing is the divine feminine going first. So the women are leading and moving into that space. And it's, you know, I'm sure some listening might even like be on the fence of that, you know, coming off contraceptives, working with your cycle, being more in your divine feminine. Obviously using the masculine energy when needed as well, but having that like more of a balance. And then what I'm seeing is I've seen some conscious men, but I'm seeing it come through slower. It feels like the women are leading the way first. And I'm not saying this with any disrespect to any men. There are plenty of conscious men out there, but I'm not seeing as many conscious men come forward as I am conscious women. So what are your thoughts on that?
I do think women, because we are so sensitive to frequency, I think we, like this whole evolution of becoming more conscious, women are picking up on it first because we're more sensitive to frequency. We know. So yes, we're kind of ahead of the curve in some way. And the men will follow. I think women get stuck because they think that the conscious men look like the conscious women. The conscious woman, she's looking for a conscious man, and she thinks he's going to be the same as her. She thinks he's going to be her mirror, but the conscious man doesn't look anything like what most women think he does. He's not the guy doing yoga in the corner of the room. He's not the guy talking about astrology.
That's when we end up with feminine men, right?
That's the feminine man. God love him, because he needs a masculine woman. And if a woman's still in her masculine, she's going to love him. But the thing is that the longer she stays with him, the more she has to be in her masculine. And it creates that resentment over time, because she can't relax into the feminine. So that's not the conscious man. The conscious man is the guy that's going to work every day, that's being the provider. He can provide for a family. He can provide for his woman, for his kids. He protects, he loves, he's dedicated to his life, he's dedicated to his relationship. He's driven, he's focused, and he's very grounded. He's present, he's here. So that's, oh, my whole left ear just went, really started ringing then. Wow. That's like that's what the conscious man looks like. But the woman is assuming that the conscious man looks the way that she looks, and then she always ends up with the feminine man. So I think there's that. But I do believe that women lead the way. And I do believe that there are really conscious men out there. But this is something that I've noticed. So tell me what you think about this. A lot of the time when I hear women that say, you know, there's loads of different categories, right? Like, oh, it's difficult for me to meet a man because I'm over 60. It's difficult to meet a man because I'm so conscious. It's difficult for me to meet a man because this. There's all the excuses under the sun. And they all, I'm not saying they don't exist, because they do, but there's all these different categories. So what I've noticed is that as soon as, no matter how old you are, what you're doing in your life, as soon as you're ready for a real relationship, you'll attract one like that. Because there's plenty of good men out there. There's loads of good men out there. It's just that these excuses of there's no conscious men is a great example. This woman isn't ready for a real relationship yet. She's not. Because if she was, she'd be with a conscious man. She'd be with him, but she's not ready. She keeps attracting, for example, emotionally unavailable partners. Well, she's emotionally unavailable. She doesn't want to open up her heart yet. She's too scared. Because it's scary, and like she comes up with all these reasons as to why she can't find the relationship, but in actuality, her heart's not ready yet. She's not ready to be really vulnerable. And you'll see this off the back end of the healing journey. Like if someone goes through a spiritual awakening and they go through the healing, what that person has done is that they've suddenly taken control of their life. They've taken control of their past. They've taken control of their emotions. So now they're suddenly really in control. Or to go and find a partner and surrender control and share your life with someone, that's a scary concept for them still. And because they're not ready, they're going to blame their outward circumstances. So they might be telling you, oh, there's no conscious men, or I can't date because I'm over 60, or there's no conscious men over the age of this 60, or whatever. Really, there's this deep underlying fear there of being in that relationship, surrendering control, going back to what you've experienced in the past. You've healed. You're going to be attracted to a different type of person now, but you are still going to attract the old story because these people exist. You have to trust yourself that you know the red flags and you know who to go with and who not to. But it's like baby steps into the dating scene again. And women get afraid. And so it's easier to say there's no conscious men.
You know,
because then you have to take accountability.
What did it for me was a dramatic shift, like you say, into surrender. So I like after I left my marriage, and we talked about this in the last podcast, I went through a trauma bond, and then I had nowhere to live. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will resonate. Like it takes like a big life kind of event thing to happen. Sometimes if we don't choose surrender, we get pushed into surrender, right? So I had been living at a farm after I'd left my marriage, and I'd been going through this trauma bond stuff as well, and I'd chosen myself. So the trauma bond was like about deep self-love. I'd chosen myself, and then like after this farm I was like, I don't know like where I'm going to live. Like nothing's coming up for me. I don't know where I'm going to be. And I just had this moment where I went down to the river, sat by the river, and it was like, the earth is your home. The earth is your home. And I just went, I surrender. The earth is my home. I had a week where I was just like the most divine, epic self-love I've ever had. I was taking myself out on dates. I was having like 2 baths a day. I was like really like in this luxury. And that was when I met Coral. That was when she dropped in that like divine partnership. Like you say, when I was in complete surrender, it was like the universe pushed me into surrender. I had to get to a point where I was like, I don't know where I'm going to live in 2 weeks. And I just went, right. And I just let it all go. I'd sort of done the work, I'd done the healing, then I just went, I let it all go. And I just be in that space of like epic self-love. And that relationship dropped in. So yeah, it makes complete sense what you're saying.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense what you're saying. Complete sense. And that tends to be what happens, I think, when we do meet these divine counterparts, is that we are in a place of surrender. We are in a place of really enjoying our life, being connected to the earth. A lot of women struggle to be grounded and be present in their life, and then they struggle to manifest. But you have to really be here and be in this life, be in this world to have the worldly things. So connecting to the earth, stepping into gratitude and trusting. And actually hearing that, like, that's exactly what happened to me as well. That's pretty much exactly what happened to me. So I do think there's something there when it comes to relationships, because I never wanted to lose faith that at some point in my journey, there's going to be a divine counterpart. There has to be. You know, we do all this work, right? It's like, I can't keep ending up with the nog. Like, that can't be. That's not going to be the end of the story. That's a terrible ending. And I know myself too much. I love myself too much to not end up in the right place. But those relationships, like what you're talking about, like your past relationship, those relationships are such a blessing. I know that it doesn't feel like that at the time, but those relationships are such a blessing. The really bad ones. If it wasn't for my ex, you know, because that it started nicely, as all relationships do, but never have I experienced someone to be so cruel to me in my entire life. I've never had a man call me a name before in my life. I'd never had a man push me before in my life. I'd never had a man tell me I was worthless and useless in my life. I'd never experienced it. I'd never even had a man yell at me, ever. And yet there I was with this man that would do these things. And I thought to myself, wow, like, how did I end up here? But I knew where it was heading. I didn't need to wait for the next 2 years till I was completely degraded and feeling worthless and useless to then leave. I was like, I'm just going to go now because I see where this is heading. And no, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say. Yeah, I'd never experienced that before. I've never met a man treat me so badly. And so I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to get out ahead of this. I'm not going to sit and wait until I'm absolutely feeling completely worthless. So I left. And when I left, this feeling of anger came up. I wasn't angry at him. I was so angry at myself. I was so angry. I was like, Laura, why have you let yourself get into these relationships in the past where they do not see you? They don't see your value. They don't see your worth. Why are you doing it? And I was so angry at myself for putting myself in those situations and for giving up myself and for putting on this mask so that I can make everyone comfortable. I was so angry. I can't even, like, I remember it, but I can't even express to you how angry I was. I was raging at myself. And that was the last of it. That was the release. I'd been angry at my external, right? Like, I'm angry at you because you called me a name and you pushed me, and my reactions to him were always very negative. I was getting angry at him. I was breaking things. I don't break things. I don't throw things. But that it was just bringing out this side of me I've never seen. So the anger towards him had subsided. The anger towards my exes had subsided. I'd healed all that. I was just left with anger that I carried in myself. And I fully let that out completely. And I was the same as you. I was like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going to live in 2 weeks. I don't know where I'm going. But I left anyway. And after that, that was when I met my partner. And never in my life have I been treated so nicely. And it kind of got to the point being with him, I was like, because it all just happened like that. It was just literally like, and he approached me and went, you're beautiful. Can I take you out? And I was like, okay. And it's just been like that ever since. But never, like, I think that we heal the external, we heal what we've been through, but we have to heal the self, like the anger in the self, the frustration in the self, because otherwise you just carry it around and you keep attracting it. And if we keep blaming everyone else, this is what I'm seeing in some of the more sort of unconscious women, like when I post about the contraceptive pill, when I post about the monthly cycles and how our femininity is affected, women get really angry about that, Gemma. Like, they don't like it. They really get angry at me with all the stuff I say. That's what they get angry about. But it's like they're angry at themselves in a way. They might be angry at me in a post. They might be angry at their ex-partner or their parents, and that needs to all be dealt with. But really, that moment, that day when I left, that taught me. I was like, Laura, you're just really angry at yourself. And I always knew maybe there was something in there. And I say it to my clients, like, you might just be angry at yourself. I say it to my clients all the time, but never have I experienced that in my life. Like, I was so rageful towards myself, but that changed my whole life. It's like it kicked the rest of it out, and it put me on a whole different dimension, a whole different vibration, where now all I'm surrounded by is complete love, protected, loved, taken care of, provided for. Everything, all my needs are met, everything. And I never thought I'd see the day. So it does work. The healing work does work, right? It puts us on a different timeline completely. But we're the only ones that can do that work. That's up to us. We have to take responsibility. And if we keep blaming everyone around us, we can't go any further. It's just going to halt you. And then that person's in control of your life, right? Because if you make me feel like that and you're going to keep doing that, then I'm going to keep feeling like this. And I'm never going to be able to move through. So we have to take responsibility. Yeah.
Love that. So thank you for sharing that story. What I'm really seeing in that story is your, like, a little sort of spark in you, that's ultimately what got you out. Like, there was a little spark that was like, no, Laura, like, might be angry at myself, but we are getting out of this. Like, this is not okay, which comes back to deserve again. I do not deserve this. And that spark that is the spark that kind of led you through that. And it feels like that's also the spark that created the fire, that was the anger that needed to come out as well. So I think I'm totally with you. I feel there's something really transformative about anger when we actually look at it and we look at why we're angry at ourselves, and we clear that through, and we then just move into this. Because so many of us, right, are told, aren't we, like, so many of us, especially women, have been told good girls don't get angry, don't have a tantrum. And so we ultimately choose, don't we? Like, say age 5, you know, you're told good girls don't do that. It's like, okay, do I choose the love of my parents, or do I choose anger? Of course we're going to choose the love of our parents because we need them for our survival. Push down the anger, and it becomes like such a deep shadow that the universe, when we're on this journey, and like you and I, these, like, you know, intense journeys, it's like, right, okay, this is coming out now, like this is time, so I'm going to bring you people that push your buttons to get this anger out.
Yeah. And I mean, the universe did a beautiful job. Like, they sent me, I've never known a man to be so angry in my life. I've never seen it. So to be sent that, because it was like his anger was being pushed through me and it was bringing mine up. And at first I was like, I'm angry at you. Like, how dare you treat me like that? You just pushed me. How dare you push me? Like, I've never been pushed by anyone in my life. So it was like the anger was towards him. But then as time went on, it was like, oh, I'm just really angry at myself. It brought it up, and I've never experienced that before. It was profound. So yeah, it was kind of like pushing mine. It was mirroring back to me my own anger. And although I wasn't kind of walking around the world expressing my anger like he was, it was in me and it was doing its own thing. It was creating its own path that I didn't want. And I need my anger to, you know, I believe that it's our tipping point. You know, if you don't let yourself get angry, you'll go back. If I didn't get angry, I would have kept going back to that. I would have kept like trying to fix it. So it was like a radical shift of knowing the value of the self, knowing that. And I remember there was a time in that relationship where I said to him, like, do you think that maybe you could open the doors for me, like in restaurants when we go out? Do you think you could let me order first? Do you think that when you know, your drink is low and you order another one, do you think you could also ask me if I want one, instead of making me sit there with an empty glass looking like it was just very uncomfortable? And he was so upset with me. He was so angry. And every time we had an argument, he would bring it up like, oh, you just think that men are going to do this for you. And I just want to be myself and all these things. So to kind of be in that situation, being like, wow, I'm really asking for very little here. Just, you know, just open my door. It's nice. It just feels odd when you as a man walk through and then just leave the door swinging for me. So to go from that to then be in a relationship with a man that does all of that and more, without me having to ask, like, it's just standard. It just shows the shift of like, get angry, get it out, be realistic with yourself, let the rage come out, because that's probably what's attracting most of your relationships. Let it come out so that you know your self-worth. You never go back. When I left that day, I was a different person. Like you, like I was different. I was like, I get it now. Like, I really get it. And the universe knew I got it. I get it. I'm really worth more, and I see it now. And I carry that with me. I'm like, I am a very confident woman. I know what I offer. I definitely know what I offer in relationships. I know how I love as a woman. And I know that a lot of men are looking for what, like, women like you and I, like, what we carry in relationships is what people that want a relationship want. Like, this is the feminine, the nurturing, like, they want that, right? We carry that without even thinking about it. That's our value. Some women have to really work to get there. They're still working on trying to be of value somehow. Some women don't bring a lot of value yet, but they say they do. That's usually the clue. They're telling the whole, you know, every guy they go on a date with, oh, you know, I'm worth it. But then there's women that have done that healing, like someone like you, someone that the women that we get to work with, they've done all this work and they're so beautiful, they don't see it. And it's such a shame. Like, I look at my clients, I'm like, but you're so beautiful. Like, why are you settling? You don't need to. But I understand, I didn't see it either. But that day, everything shifted. I never went back. I didn't go back to who I used to be, nothing. I was like, I get it. I get my self-worth. And then I was like, you, carrying about my day, like 2 baths a day, rose petals, reading my book in the mornings, like just slowing down and just really enjoying my life. Until one day I thought to myself, do you know, I'm going to go to the gym early today. I always go at 2 o'clock. I'm going to go at 10. Walked into the gym, and there's my man right there. So it was the easiest thing. It was the easiest thing. And it's the easiest relationship. There's no struggle, there's no fixing, it's just easy. And that's it. And it's how a relationship should be. It's what I've been looking for my whole life. And I think it's what most women are looking for, just that easy relationship, that soulmate, that person that just chooses you and goes, you're the one I want. And that's it. And it just is. That's why we do all this work. That's why we do all this healing, is so that we can actually have these great friendships, great partners, great connections, because we can't survive on our own. I know the strong, independent woman thing is a flex, but it's not my flex. I believe we need connection and we need each other.
I love that. And I love you said all relationships there, because actually this is relevant to all relationships and the clients that we work with as well, because we will just get given clients time and time again that are mirroring a part of us. So this is, this is relevant. So what tips would you give? So what I'm hearing is, feeling the anger, especially anger itself, and allowing that to come out. So if women are listening to this and thinking, yeah, like I can feel there's some anger in there, but I don't know how to get that out, what would you say?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. Like you can try and like self-induce it. So that would be, I always recommend, don't do it spontaneously. Like set a time for yourself. So you say like, okay, so Friday, I've got the house to myself. Let's say, for example, I'm going to light some candles and have a bath. Then I'm going to sit and pull some tarot cards. I'm going to have a little snack and have a glass of wine, whatever it is that you do. Mm-hmm. And then just allow it. So you're already kind of setting the intention that on Friday, you're going to start to feel your anger and start to understand it. And then when I'm working with clients, like physically, one-on-one with them physically instead of online, I will literally get them to scream. Like I'll get them to punch the floor. I'll get them to get onto their hands and knees and punch the floor. It's very powerful. They end up feeling very light afterwards. So you can self-induce it in that way. And I've done that quite a lot. And it's actually a really powerful feeling. It's really nice. But the other thing is to not be afraid of letting life show you how angry you are. When we go through all this healing, we can get in our head, right? We're doing all these meditations and these healings and we get stuck in the head. We get stuck in the subconscious. And then we can become very afraid of going out and living our life. So that's something I've noticed. When a woman has gone through a lot of healing, she then gets a little bit stagnant. She gets stuck as being the introvert because she's now so used to processing her feelings, processing her emotions, and understanding her mind. And so she gets a bit stuck in the hermit mode. In order for us to really grow and thrive and learn more, we have to go outside and have life experiences. I don't think I could have understood my anger if it wasn't for my ex. I couldn't have understood on that level because, like I said, the amount of rage that came out, I knew I was angry, didn't know I was that angry. So don't be afraid of life experiences. Don't be afraid of going out on dates, meeting new friends, going to places, letting yourself experience yourself through others, letting yourself see the mirror, because it's so easy to get stuck. It's so easy to be like, oh no, it's okay, I'm just going to keep doing my meditations. Like, yes, they do work, they really do work, but we need both. It's a very feminine approach when we sit and we sit with our emotions. It's a very masculine approach when we go out there in the world and we allow the world to show us our anger. If you ask the universe to show it to you, it will. You just have to be careful what you ask for because you never know what's inside. But if you say like, show me my anger, like I really want to see it, you'll attract some experiences. This is where you'll normally, like, you'll hear people say like, oh, everything's kind of messed up right now. I'm not in a very good place. I don't understand because I felt really guided to be here. I felt like the universe was saying to me, go here. And now look, I've lost everything. And I'm like, yeah, because you thought that the universe was always going to lead you to peace and harmony. You didn't think the universe is just leading you to a lesson that will eventually lead you to peace and harmony if you keep going. But it's never a through road, is it? It's always like going around a mountain. Yeah. But I think there's an assumption that if you feel called to something, it means it's something positive and happy. It's like, no, you're really being called to go back to that lesson and you're being called to that relationship because he's the same as the last guy and you haven't figured it out yet. So this is why you see women go in circles, like attracting the same relationship over and over again. It's just, you're attracting someone that has the same pattern. You're attracting the pattern, right? Not the person, it's the pattern.
Just felt drawn to the unalom on my tattoo as well. I was like, the unalom is the path to enlightenment. Is it's just like, oh yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that you get your clients to punch the floor. I've been doing a trauma certification recently, and there's a big part of that around is like trauma comes in and out of the body. So yeah, I love that. Just, encourage it to come out. And I've got a baseball bat as well. Hit some pillows with that. Very carefully, not to disrupt the house, but break stuff.
Well, it's very grounding. It's a very grounding experience.
I saw the other day in the woods, I was like, wow, what an incredible idea. Although I wasn't very happy they hadn't cleared it up, but somebody had written their anger on a plate and had smashed the plate in the woods. I was like, I love that idea. I just wish you'd cleared up after yourself, but I love that idea.
Yeah, well, you can get these rage rooms, right? Like you can get rooms where you can go and smash plates and cups and things like that just to let it out. It's a very physical experience. It's very grounding, and also the heart runs all the way down through the hands, so you're really expanding your heart as well, like you're opening yourself up. So I think it's very important. That's why hitting the ground, it's like it's very powerful. Like it really connects women back to something that they've lost. It's the dark feminine, Gemma. Connecting them back to the dark feminine. Most women, because like you say, this good girl mask, they put on this mask of like, oh, I'll behave, I'll shut my anger down so that my parents are happy with me and they're pleased with me. The dark feminine gets shut down. And then a lot of women are scared of the dark feminine. And then because they haven't embraced it, now it's going to leak out everywhere. That's where you get this random angry comments on social media, like really unnecessary. Like some don't even make any sense, but it's just because they haven't connected to their anger yet. So now it's just going on the wrong place. It's like people that get angry when they drive. If you actually deal with the real what you're really angry about, these other things just subside. Definitely.
So I could talk to you for hours as usual, Laura. We're coming towards the end of the podcast today. If you were to, so we've covered a lot today. We've talked about cycles, seasonal cycles, the womb cycles, contraception, relationships, divine partnerships, surrender, and anger and rage, and the world woman, the dark feminine. So if you were to give one tip today that I know we've had loads of tips in this, but if you were to just pick one for our listeners and viewers for women to get more in touch with their most authentic selves, what would that be?
I'm going to go with physical experience. I'm going to say experience. Go outside, get into the world, be around the negative people, be around the angry people, see how you respond. You might not be as enlightened as you think, because when you have someone angry in your face, chances are you're going to get angry right back. If you have someone rude that jumps the queue in front of you, chances are you're going to get annoyed. Go out and experience all of yourself, because I think a lot of the time we shut down the bad in ourselves. The bad, I mean, we kind of go, oh, actually, maybe I can be negative. Maybe I can be quite draining for people. Maybe I can be angry. We never get to see it if we sit in our room and just kumbaya all the time. Go out there in the world. Don't be afraid to experience the opposite types of people to you. If you want to date, go out there and meet people. Then you go out and have conversations, go out and have the experiences. Life will always give you the lesson. Like some women, they're looking for healing, right? They're on this journey of healing, and they're looking for things within themselves. If you go outside just for an hour and mingle with people, you'll probably learn more, and you'll learn it quicker, because you need the mirror. So with all the healing I've done, and it's been a lot, like I've been doing this work for 8 years, coming up 8 years, the biggest lessons have been life. They really have been the biggest lessons, life experience. Ex-boyfriends are a blessing. My last boyfriend, he made all my ex-boyfriends look like gemstones. Like he literally made them all look like they were just the most incredible men. He actually shined light on all of them by being such a a negative influence. So there's a blessing in everything. If I hadn't met him, I don't know if I'd be here right now. So thank you to him. You know, so it's like, let's not be afraid of these life experiences. Let's just trust ourselves. Trust that you're going to know when something's off. Trust that you can walk away when something doesn't feel good. Trust that you're going to listen to yourself and that you're going to know what to do. And when you have that, then you can take yourself anywhere. If you trust you, you can go anywhere. That's what I would say.
When you trust you can go anywhere. Let's end on that. That's amazing. So is there anything, obviously you were on the podcast before, but please do share how we can get in touch with you and anything you've got coming up that you want to share with listeners.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to work with me, they can go to reignitingwomen.com. All my social handles are Reigniting Women. So I do mentorships and one-on-one work if they want to work with me personally. We do past life regression, we do childhood healing. I do it all through sort of a psychic channel, so I can see everyone's grid system. I can see people's paths, what they need to do. So I just guide them through that healing over a period of months. So if anyone wants to do that, then they're more than welcome. If they want to get started today, I've got loads of online courses, you know, connecting with the wild woman, connecting with the womb, connecting with the witch. So they can start those courses, and all the regressions are on there as well. So that's something that if they want to, you know, some women, they're like me, they want to, like, I want it now. So they can go, yeah, so they can go on to yeah, if they're like me and they're like, let's just get started, there's like past life regressions, pre-recorded 1-hour meditations on my website, so they can go ahead and purchase those and get started. It's worth it. It really is worth it. I am so glad I got pushed, to use your words. You get pushed onto the path. Like, I didn't go, oh, this is where I'm going. The universe went, okay, this is what's happening now. Off you go. And I'm so grateful, and doing the work is worth it. 100%. I don't regret any of it. So if anyone wants to take that journey and come with me, then the invitation is there.
Amazing. Thank you, Laura. And please do, if you're listening and you resonate with Laura, she is amazing. She's held, I was gonna say hold, come on, Gemma, get your words right, held amazing space for me before. And yeah, thank you so much for being here again on the podcast and sharing your magic with us all. It's been, yeah, amazing again. So thanks so much, Laura.
Thank you for having me.